and this is to allow those who can't be here to watch. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Grant Richards.
I'm Tim Allen. Nice to meet you all.
And this is MCTV 43. It is Introduction to Digital Editing. And we're going to do a variety of projects, short films, music videos, some audio things, some special effects. But you're going to learn the software and then, good editing techniques. I'll tell you right now that we're going to introduce two types of software. Tim prefers Premiere and he works on it daily and is quite the expert. And I favor Final Cut Pro X. And if you're interested in that, I'll be the one who takes the lead with that software.
Yes. Grant and I, we teach a lot of classes together, so we know what each other think a lot. But he has already mentioned in another class that we're teaching that I believe that the most power and control comes in the editing process. That's where in the filmmaking process, you start with a script, you film everything, and then everything that you get will land on the editor's lap. And then either the director will sit with the editor or the editors, sometimes the editor just gets to sit and pick what goes on the screen, and you're able to take something and really refine it down. I always think of woodworking when I think of video editing, and that's because you're taking something that's a big chunk and you're just refining, maybe you use a hammer and a chisel to knock it down to something smaller, but then it's all about getting the sanding, cutting seconds and even sometimes half seconds off that just changes the feel of the content creation. Because nowadays, in the world that we live in, we're all content creators. Why? Because we all have this in our pocket, right? We all have our cell phones, and our cell phones are like the best cameras that we all carry cameras all the time, and we all have the ability to film, edit, and upload from our cameras. But why is this class important? Well, it's about learning to go and going beyond. Maybe you want to become a YouTube content creator. Maybe you want to make your TikToks more interesting. Maybe you want to make films or work in television. This is where you're going to be able to sign up. You're already signed up in the class, but this is where you're going to be able to sit, and each week we'll give you probably an hour to an hour and a half lecture about doing a different process in Premiere, Final Cut X, After Effects, DaVinci Resolve, that will focus on one element every single week. So one could be just the basic methods of editing. One could be sound, one could be audio, one could be fonts, one could be color correction. There's so many elements to know. I really do have the 10,000 hours to make me an expert in Premiere. I have been a video editor for close to 20 years now. I graduated school in 2002. From San Diego State, and my education was in documentary filmmaking and editing, and specifically I learned on Final Cut 1. I learned the first version of Final Cut, digital editing, and before that I actually did non-linear editing, right? Linear editing.
Linear editing.
Linear editing is literally film used to come on actual film, right? So you would take the film, you would physically make a cut. It's called a cut because you would take a razor blade and cut the image and tape those together, and that's how an edit first started. And then there's methods to do dissolves and wipes and all that fun stuff. So I did that, but then they're like, nonlinear editing's the future. So I learned in Final Cut and consider myself a Final Cut expert for 7 to 8 years. Then Final Cut X came out, and I decided that was not the platform for me. Or the production house I worked in decided that. So then I learned Adobe Premiere. And then I've been working in Adobe Premiere over 10 years. Premiere, of course, is part of the Adobe suite, which Adobe Suite will give you Premiere, Photoshop, After Effects, a whole bunch of different Illustrator, a whole bunch of stuff that you would use in filmmaking anyway. So the house that I was working in decided like, that's the way to go. We'll go the subscription model. And then we dumped Final Cut for that. Good or bad. Either way, apples and oranges, I always say. It's just a matter of learning it. I've also edited in iMovie. I've edited in Avid. I actually worked at a TV station where we used Avid Express to edit what went on live news broadcast. I think those, you've used GarageBand for audio editing, as well as those might be all the programs I know, but I've used Windows Movie Maker. Okay, if you have to, I've done it and gotten there. So definitely, if whatever you like to use, and there's a lot of apps. I know there's ones like HitFlix, and you could use DaVinci to edit. What we're teaching you here is going to be rooted in Premiere and Final Cut, but you can basically get away with what we teach you here as a baseline to know what to edit. Sorry, Grant, you raised your hand. You want to say something?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I almost feel like we should talk about the two programs so that you can kind of decide. And then not only that, but also about the class itself. So and in fact, let's do that. So every Thursday evening, Tim and I are going to meet at 6 o'clock to start the class. Now, this class is considered an asynchronous class, so you do not need to be there at 6. If that does not work for you and you can learn purely online, you can do that. Don't feel the pressure to be here. However, it's good that if you have questions about Premiere, Tim can answer them. He can show you directly what you're doing wrong or don't know. He can guide you. And the same thing with Final Cut. I can answer your questions. I can give you more hands-on. So now there's two different possibilities. Gavilan has a digital studio. It's Library 128, and we've reserved it starting next week for every Thursday night at 6 o'clock. We will Zoom from there so that you can come and be in the classroom with us, or stay at home and join us on Zoom. Or if you can't, we're going to record the Zoom and then upload it, but we will be there. Now, what's good about being in the computer lab is that they have state-of-the-art computers. They're very fast. They all have Final Cut and Premiere and After Effects and Pro Tools and everything on them already, so that the software's there. You don't have to pay a penny. In fact, if you come, if you want, I can either come a little early to do some of your lab time there and stay a little time after. Tim's only going to be there from 6 to 8, but I can come earlier or stay longer if you need to. But you don't have to, if you don't have a computer that's up to the task, you can edit on campus. And have Tim and me in the room with you, so we can watch your footage, and when there's no glitches with playing things over Zoom or things like that, we're actually there and can give you more detailed input. So those are some of the options. And as long as 2 or more people are willing to come to the classroom, I will be there. And so we can give you that hands-on attention that some of you might want.
Yep.
Does anyone have any questions about kind of the different modes of the class? I'm just going to say it again. This is technically a asynchronous class, so you can stay at home and not have to participate in Zoom or anything. Or on Thursdays from 6 to 8, you can join our Zoom meetings, and we will give lectures about the software and techniques and things like that, depending on who's doing Premiere and who's doing Final Cut. Last semester, everyone did Premiere. So I kind of just watched Tim along with everybody else. I think the semester before that, or 2 semesters before that, it was half and half. And so one lesson would be on Premiere and the next one would be on Final Cut. And maybe we should talk about the 2 products. I'll tell you right now, if you have a PC, Final Cut's not an option. It's just Premiere. But if you do have a Mac, then you can do either, both Adobe Premiere or Final Cut. One of the advantages for me about Final Cut is that it's a one-time purchase. It's $199. You buy it, you own it forever. And all updates are free. For years, they keep giving you updates. They're all free. I like that because if you think about 12 months, I edit all year round for years. I paid $199 and that's still what I'm paying. For Premiere or the Adobe Suite, you pay, if you're a student or a teacher, you pay $20 a month. And if you're only going to edit occasionally, that might be a really good deal. $20, you save yourself quite a bit of money. But if you get hooked and you edit a lot, now it's $20 a month, every month. And then when you stop being a student, now it's $30 a month. So there's advantages to both. Tim and I argue about, which we prefer, but basically both software can do the same things. They just slightly different. They have a different look and feel to them. Tim?
Yeah, and the only other thing is when you pay the $20 or $30 a month for Adobe, you actually get access for the entire suite. So that means you get After Effects, you get Photoshop, you get every single thing, Dreamweaver, Media. There's so many apps that I don't even use, but I have access to it. Acrobat, InDesign, Bridge, Lightroom. It's
I
crazy.
use Photoshop regularly.
Yeah.
And so I pay for it just because I use Photoshop so much. So, and I love After Effects. So if you're going to do some special effects work, After Effects is probably the industry standard. So it's a good package that you're getting. But and we're going to kind of poll the class because we want to tailor it to each of you. I don't want to take time talking about Final Cut if no one else is going to edit with it. So anyways, we'll probably.
So I think what we're going to do is give you the week to decide to look at the videos we've posted on the 2 differences, maybe allow you to decide. We don't require textbook for this class, but consider your purchase of the editing software as the cost of the textbook. So even if you want to subscribe, you can do a la carte on Premiere and only have to get it for 3 months, right? So, or you're buying Final Cut X forever, and it's just one of those investments that you need to decide what you want to do.
Or again, you can come to the computer lab and do everything there, and don't have to own a computer and don't have to get the software at all. They're just there. And there is another investment though. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is that the software needs to be on the computer, but Tim and I believe that the footage should be on an external hard drive. Your computer runs more smoothly. There's less likely there'll be crashing and issues. Plus, like if you come to the computer lab, you might be on this one computer one week and a different one the next week. And all you have to do is bring the project file and the footage on your hard drive and you're ready to go. So, and you're going to need to be portable. And for example, some of you will have projects that you can edit. I know Sophie is here and Sophie's got lots of things that she can edit. But others, we might be giving you the footage that you will be editing, especially some of the early projects. So you're going to need to upload them, or we're going to need to transfer files somehow to get them to you. And it's better, especially we shoot on the Red camera and in 6K, and a project. Sophie, do you remember how many gigs your film was?
I'm not totally sure, but I think over 1 terabyte.
Yeah, a terabyte. So
So that's 1,000 gigabytes, right?
yeah. So anyways, it's smart to have, by the way, I love the Teradek, I'm sorry, the Lacey hard drives. They have these orange cases. They're pretty inexpensive. I now have something like 95 of them. I only buy 5 terabyte, but 1 or 2 terabytes. They're light, they're pretty durable, they're fast. I've never had one fail, and yet I've had lots of other hard drives that have. So we recommend those, although there are other brands. By the way, Sophie, I have a hard drive of yours here that I need to bring tomorrow. So maybe you can remind me before we're done today, and I'll put it in my bag.
Yes, I will remind you.
Okay, good, thanks. So any questions about the software or hard drives or the modalities of the class?
Yeah, so really what we are going to ask everyone at home who's watching this, and all of you, essentially, if you can't make it in person, can't be on the Zoom for the lecture, you are required to watch our recordings, which will be the primary mode of instruction. We will share links and videos to watch, examples of editing throughout the iLearn, but this is going to be the main method of learning. So definitely you will benefit from being able to ask questions. The recordings will be valuable to refresh, but really we find the most success in our students who are editing along, are able to follow along, and or to actually you can't succeed in this class if you don't have the software or access to the software. So if you don't have a computer that can run either software, please come to on campus in Gilroy and join us on Thursday nights. If not, will they have access to the computer lab when we're not there, Grant? Or
well, it's not open without somebody in the studio, but we can schedule times, and maybe Geronimo can edit in there, or I can be in there. But we're gonna have to plan that out. Probably the best time would be before or after our Zoom sessions. I can go early or stay a little later if you need more time to edit.
So we're going to ask all of you students to reach out and let us know either through iLearn's messaging. The syllabus has our phone numbers. Text messaging works great for us, or email us. Grant checks his email often. I am better at texting if you need immediate response. So that is the best way to reach us. I'm going to tell you right now, I've many former students from this very class, and I probably get hit up maybe twice, 3 times a month, up to 6 times a month, of people who are like, Tim, I'm having a really weird issue with Premiere. What is it? And I'm happy to jump on a FaceTime or a Zoom and work it out with you. I've had the hours on Premiere. I've encountered every error, user error, physical error, software error. Well, I'm not gonna say everyone because they're always inventing new ones, but I've seen a lot. I'm usually able to be like, oh, you just need to do this. And in fact, a former student, we just sat there and figured out.
Gio?
Yeah, we just figured out, we solved it with an autosave. That was his issue. So somehow he messed up his program. We couldn't figure out how to fix it back without having to do an extremely tedious method. So I'm just like, well, why don't we just use your old autosave before you messed it up? And so we'll talk about autosaves and how to back up your programs. You know, you're going to have crashes in Premiere. Let's just say that. Grant says it doesn't crash in Final Cut, but
Yeah, no, I've never had a crash in Final Cut. And Final Cut, every single thing you do, it saves. Now you could go back. I think it's something like 10 million. Your last, I mean, you go back because it saves everything that you do. So you could go back if you want to eliminate. But I've never had a crash. And so that's one of the advantages to Final Cut.
Sure.
So we argue playfully about the two different software. So
yeah. You'll have crashes in Premiere. So don't worry. You'll crash. Premiere will crash. That's just what it does. But there's a method to the editing to where you don't lose too much or anything. So I think I've experienced 3 crashes today. Let's just say that. And yeah, like Grant said,
in one day.
well, it's actually it's a physical hardware issue with my computer. My computer just randomly shuts down now. So I count those as crashes, but
That's not Premiere's fault.
it's not Premiere. Premiere is Premiere is taking the brunt. And honestly, the one that I wish would autosave more is Photoshop. I've lost a lot of hours in Photoshop because I'm too dumb to hit Command S, which should be like your number one hotkey, Command S, which is save. Yeah, that being said, yeah, any questions or comments? We're happy to talk. Next week we'll get into Premiere 101. Basically, we're going to open the program. I'm going to show you how to make basic edits, how to import media, how to basically get started. Because really, Premiere has you can dive in really quickly, but then there is like a steep learning curve when you want to start to get into more advanced stuff. But a novice can jump in and make basic edits pretty easily.
We've been rambling on for
30 minutes. Should we talk about Sophie's role in this class, Grant, now that Sophie's here?
I don't think she is an embedded tutor in this class. She is tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
But
All right.
Sophie is she's our most experienced filmmaker in our program. So much so that she became an embedded tutor, meaning that she's another resource. If you can't talk to Tim or you're tired of looking at me or hate my voice or whatever, you can go to Sophie and she'll have answers for you. Awesome. She's
great to hear that. She's
been editing and filmmaking, and not only that, but Sophie has kind of done it all. She has directed a whole bunch of films. She's an amazing actor. She's probably the best scriptie I've ever worked with. The best, AD. She's incredibly creative. She does. I'll show you some of the cool special effects, blood and makeup stuff that she's done. She's amazing and all aspects of filmmaking. So we're really lucky to have her here as an asset for our program. And so even though it's not technically her job, for this class, she might be a good resource if you have questions or want feedback other than Tim or me, because Sophie is great and will be a good resource. I can't volunteer her for you for this class, but
Thank you. Thank you, Grant and Tim. That really means a lot to hear. And I will say that I still have a lot to learn in Premiere. That's my chosen software, but there is some stuff that I do know how to do. So if either one of the teachers are busy and you need help, please let me know. I'm happy to help.
And Sophie, maybe you can help us out since you're talking right now. Why did you choose Premiere over Final Cut?
I kind of fell into it. It was the chosen editing software of another program that I was at before Gavilan, and I just learned how to use it, and I just like the format of it a lot, and didn't really want to pay a lot more money to get a new software and learn from the ground up. But I really like Premiere. I think that the interface really works well with my brain. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you one of the differences between Premiere and Final Cut, and I even forgotten the terms, but Final Cut uses one screen, one monitor to see both the clips, your footage, and your timeline. And it basically, whatever you click on it, that's what it uses. Where in the old days for Final Cut, it used to follow the Avid and the current Premiere, where it would have, what are the two screens called?
Oh, there's preview and program.
Preview and program. Preview is program the timeline.
Yeah, program's timeline. It's
Yes.
what's going out. Yeah.
So that one monitor, one screen shows you what you have in your timeline, wherever the what do they call it in Premiere, where
what do you mean, the cursor? The
cursor, yeah, wherever the cursor is, it shows you that image. And the preview is when you click on any of the footage, it's there. So you can see two things at once. I think Final Cut thought, hey, we'll have one larger screen, and it serves as both. And at first I thought, oh man, that's going to be confusing or annoying, and now I really like it. So
we got a question from Betas. The computer lab has both software, so you're able to choose either program, so you're not limited by choice. You can, if you want Final Cut, that you can come to the lab. If you want Premiere, you can come to the lab. So, and they'll all be updated and everything that's that you would possibly need. Also, After Effects, I believe, is on those computers as well.
After Effects, and I think some of them have Pro Tools. None of them have DaVinci Resolve. So DaVinci Resolve is a free program. It can get expensive if you kind of step it up to kind of more pro versions. And DaVinci Resolve is a software, but colorists actually have a coloring board, and it's not a keyboard. It's a thing that has a ball and all kinds of knobs and everything, and you operate the board to control the software on your computer. So but they try to get you hooked because it's the industry standard for color correction. And so you learn, and then if you really like it, they want you to invest in the board.
Yeah.
We have a friend of the program, Chris, who does a lot of our coloring, and he has the big DaVinci Resolve coloring board. So but did we answer your question? Yeah, all the computers, or I believe all the computers have both Final Cut and Premiere on them. So you might try them both out and see, hands-on what you like better. Or you might just want to go with the crowd if everyone's doing this, one or the other. We've already got one who's committed to Premiere. So we'll see what everyone wants to do.
Yeah, we'll decide next week, but pretty much we'll start with a Premiere lesson next week. So just FYI, if you're tuning in at 6 or you're coming in person on 6, next Thursday, we will learn the basics of Premiere. from yours truly. Ooh, great. All right, any questions or comments from those here? If not, I think we'll stop the recording and maybe we can talk not recorded.
Yeah, real quickly, I'm going to send out a poll, a mandatory poll, and I'm going to ask, how do you intend to do the class? Asynchronous, Zoom, or coming to the classroom, the computer lab. Then I want you to tell me what software. It's either going to be Premiere, Final Cut, or try both. And then I want to know about footage. Do you have your own footage that you want to work with, or are you going to want footage from me? Because I can give you, and then I've got tons of movies. You can tell me what kind of genre you want, etc. We're also going to be filming some things, live things, and we're going to want to know who's willing to edit some of the things that we shoot. So, for example, we're going to shoot a couple basketball games coming up. We're going to not only stream the game live, so that goes over the internet so anyone can watch it live, but we're also going to record the footage on the cameras and then have that available for you to edit if you like. We're also going to then have some packages, news packages, where we tell the story. We're going to record a journalist maybe interviewing the coach and talking about the game and having some of the highlight footage. There'll probably be like a minute, 2 minute max bits. So you got to tell the story and show some exciting stuff in a short amount of time. So anyways, the footage, if you want it, we can get it to you, but we need I need to be able to know that so that you can get started. Next Monday, you're going to need to start editing, and you need to be ready to have something to edit so you can start manipulate, follow Tim's lesson, and you're not just going to watch, but you're actually going to do the things that Tim is doing, and you can't do that without some footage. So anyways.
Yeah, at the very least, you can watch and then get your footage and follow along with the recorded version. If you want to watch it a second time, basically would be a good method or mode for what I was doing. But yeah, hard drives, you'll need that, especially if you're coming to the computer lab. Anything that's saved onto the computer lab's computers are deleted the next day. So be warned, that's a #1 way to lose items that way. Also, importantly too, our final in this class is we will provide you all audio and video, and we'll provide every single person in the class the exact same footage, and you're all responsible to take the footage and edit the piece as you see fit. And it's a really fun project because we'll give out 10 or 20 of the exact same footage, and we'll get 10 or 20 different versions of the same story. And some people will cut, one year we did kind of a comedy, romantic comedy, and we got a horror film version. We got like a music video version. What else did we get, Grant? Last year, it was footage of me turning into an alien.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And yeah, we got some crazy edits of me, so that was fun. Probably do something like that again, but keep that in mind. There is a written final. We'll go over everything on that as well. But primarily, you're completely graded on your projects and turning in participation in, both on iLearn and in the class.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to stop the recording.